I want everybody to put your hands together right now for our first guest, Braden Smith. All right, Braden, how you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
All right, perfect. No, thank you for coming. So, first question is, first of all, what got you into real estate? Period.
I guess it's kind of a long story. I kind of grew up around it. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I kind of grew up around it. My dad was in construction. He had me on job sites as young as like 10, 11 years old, sweeping up sawdust and picking up boards during the summer, keep me out of trouble. So I have kind of a natural affinity to construction and real estate and houses, and I've always been interested in it. And actually, my first course, I guess, I ever bought was Carlton Sheets. I still have it somewhere with the tape cassettes, all that, and the big binder. I kept it as memorabilia now.
Yeah.
Although when I got that thing, I didn't really put it to use at the time.
Perfect. So I had the Carlton Sheets tape also. I bought it off eBay. Probably like 2006, 2007.
You were way late.
Yeah, I was a little bit later. So I had to buy the VHS DVD combo. So that's how behind I was. So coming from construction, first of all, you're not originally from New Orleans, right?
No, I grew up in Lake Charles.
So tell us about that journey. So how does Lake Charles connect to New Orleans?
Well, actually, I moved here in '99,
Okay.
and I was in the hospitality industry at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And my cousin was the general manager of Commander's Palace.
Okay.
And so I was already in the restaurant business, and he offered me a job over there. He said, "You want to move to New Orleans?" And I was like 22, 23 years old, and he offered me a job, and I was like, "All right, sure, let's go. Why not?"
Yeah.
And I moved over here all by myself, and been here ever since.
So how does Commander's Palace connect you to the business?
Well, the hospitality industry definitely has, I would say, helped in my journey, because in the hospitality industry, it's very similar to the real estate business, where you're going to meet all kinds of people from all walks of life, and you got to know how to interact with them, and you definitely do that in the hospitality industry.
So was it somebody specifically that you met, or who was it that
moved into real estate?
Right.
Really, like I said, I always had an interest in it, and I just got tired of the service industry, basically.
Yeah.
The nights, the weekends, the holidays, every time there's something fun going on, you got to work. So
Absolutely.
I finally made the push into real estate, and made a slow transition. I had another job at the time, and actually when I first got in real estate, I had 3 jobs, real estate being one.
Okay.
And,
Which 3 was it?
I was actually selling insurance for a while. That was my first kind of foray out of the hospitality industry, just looking for a way to get out. And then I was doing some bartending on the weekends for some extra cash while I was trying to learn real estate.
You still bartend?
No. Only for myself. Only at my home bar.
I got you. So I want you to talk a little bit more about the actual beginning, right? So from hospitality, being introduced to the business, what were kind of your assumptions about the industry before you jumped into it?
Well, I'm one of those people that I did a lot of reading and research and had the analysis paralysis for a long time. And so I was pretty well versed on it before I ever actually got the guts enough to jump in there and start doing stuff. And it was a very, very slow process for me. I'm a overanalyzer to a T, And but it works well for deals. I overanalyze the hell out of deals and make sure the numbers work. So. But I made a slow transition. I was doing the insurance job at the same time, and Betsy Birdsong was actually my first broker when I got my real estate license.
Okay.
And she kind of took me under her wing and taught me a lot as far as how to be a realtor, and I was still trying to look at doing the investing and stuff, and that's basically where it all started.
Right. What made you go into the brokerage side first before the investment side?
Well, actually, I started doing the wholesaling probably in like 2010, just kind of dabbling in it and trying to figure all that out. And then in 2013, I decided to dive in head first and go ahead and get the license. Figured if I was going to do one, I might as well do the other. They kind of go hand in hand. And all the agents I bring on at my brokerage now, I tell them the same thing. If you're going to be an agent, you might as well be an investor. We consider ourselves to be a very investor-friendly brokerage, not only for our clients, but for our agents too. We actually encourage our agents to become investors if they're not.
Right. Yeah. So the analysis paralysis part, where did that come from? Because I think a lot of your knowledge that you do have and your approach to the business, and also your approach to even like legislation and things that's going on in the industry, you still got that eyeball. So where does that come from?
I think it's just because I got a little OCD in me, to
Okay.
be honest.
Yeah.
I guess more of a kind of engineer's mentality.
Okay. And how does that help now?
Well, like I said, it definitely helps with the deals, thoroughly analyzing the deals and running the comps and running through the numbers and making sure things are going to work. And then,
Yeah.
also analyzing every potential problem that could come up and being prepared for those. And then also analyzing multiple exit strategies.
Gotcha. So you got your brokerage license, you're starting off with Betsy. How was that experience being a realtor in the beginning?
It was tough at first. It's tough when you first start being a realtor, especially for me when I don't have, I started where I don't have any family here. So I didn't have that circle or that sphere of influence to work, So for me, I was starting like from ground zero, just trying to figure it all out and figuring out how do you get business. And it's definitely hard when you first start.
Right. How'd you overcome that? So, because I know when you're a broker, they tell you, pass out calls to your family, call your family members, people you work with, letting everybody know that you're a broker. But you kind of a transplant from Laplace to here. So how did you overcome that challenge?
Well, actually, Betsy's system helped me out a lot with that because she had a system set up to where she was basically feeding me buyer leads regularly, nonstop.
Okay.
It's the internet leads, so you got to fish through a bunch of them to find the quality ones. But
Right.
that allowed me to hit the ground running.
Okay. So how does that affect or impact your training now with your agents?
Well, we don't provide our agents any leads. The internet, well, we do a small amount, but we don't do the online buyer leads.
Right.
Because we encourage them to, like you said, to kind of work your sphere instead,
Right.
And kind of build that client base and create that repeat and referral business.
Got it.
It's an easier way to go about it. Working the online leads can work, but it's brutal.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's a lot of rejection.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. So tell us about those early mistakes as a broker. So what's the mistake that sticks out to you the most that you still think about when you first got started?
Well, I can tell you on the investing side, I would say one of the bigger mistakes I made in the beginning was trying to do too many things at once.
What you mean?
Like not picking one thing and mastering it.
Okay.
If I could give anybody advice now when you're starting out, whether as a realtor or an investor, there's so many different marketing channels you can choose from. Pick one.
Right.
And do that until you master it before you start trying to add in other marketing channels, because then you're just always all over the place and you're ineffective at all of them.
Right.
You got to pick one thing and do it until you master it, then add in the other stuff. It's the same thing on the realtor side or the investor side. Pick one method you're going to go after to get the business and focus on that until you get it mastered.
Yeah. Well, so tell us a story. What's the example of that? Because I understand what you mean, but more specifically, kind of give us an example of how you got caught juggling.
Yeah, well, all right, on the investor side, I started out doing the direct mail, doing the yellow letters like everybody used to do. And then, then you shiny object. Oh, look, there you could do this. You could do the RVMs, the SMS, just all of it. And I was doing all of it at one point.
Yeah.
Every potential marketing channel you could possibly think of, I was doing all of them at the same time. And wasn't being very effective at any of them because I just had too many things I was trying to do at once.
Right. I think that a lot of people in the room probably share that same thing because we all chasing the deal. So you figure if we do all these different channels, somebody's gonna get to the deal faster than everybody else. So what's the problem with that, right? So what's the actual reality when that does happen? So it sounds good in theory to throw a bunch of stuff at it, but in reality, what's the reaction that you experience?
You end up just, scatterbrained. You're all over the place, especially if you're doing it all yourself. Like if you do one marketing channel and then you master it, then bring in like a VA to take that over, get your SOPs in place, your standing operating procedures. So where you have all that written, where you can pass it off to somebody and show them, teach them, train them exactly what to do, let them run that for you, then add in the next marketing channel. So that way you don't really have to worry about that one anymore. You can focus on the next one and then just keep going down the line.
Yep. I agree. I think that was the last No Real meeting. I asked you, what's some more advanced topics that we can start talking about in a group besides just the basics? And I think what he just touched on, as far as SOPs, those standard operating procedures, documenting those processes, that's not the end all be all, but that does help with training, right? Training.
Yeah, and especially if you want to scale it all, you got to do that to scale.
Correct. So take us past the actual being an agent. So now building the sales team. What's some of the challenges you're having right now? So I think this is a good time to talk about the training piece and the scaling up piece. So what's some of the challenges that you're seeing with having that sales team under you?
Yeah, well, I'm still dealing with it myself, getting those SOPs in place and getting all of that lined up, getting organized, because it just takes time to do all those things. When you're constantly busy and you're constantly working, you're constantly out in the field, you don't have time to sit down for 2, 3, 4 hours at a time and try to map everything that's in your head out onto a piece of paper. But using a VA can help you with that. You can just talk to them, have them transcribe it for you, and then you take it and refine it.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm doing now.
I agree. So how many people in the room feel like they don't have enough time in a day to get everything done?
Probably everyone.
Okay. All right. So what he's referring to is absolutely right, and the hardest part is the time piece, which is why I asked that question. So what I've learned is, and I'm gonna share the things that are important, you make time for it. So blocking off that time to set those processes up, and what you said is perfect. So if you record those steps and just hand it off to somebody to either transcribe, or if you go on Fiverr, those process maps that he's talking about, you can actually go on Fiverr and somebody will process map them for you. You don't have to actually sit there and do it. So I'm glad you brought that up. And we all share that same issue where it feels like we only have 13-hour days instead of 24-hour days.
And time blocking can be a big help. It's just you got to stick to it. But it's hard to stick to time blocking in the real estate industry because things always pop up that pull you away. It's
the phone.
Well, it happens where like there may be something that pops up that you have to deal with that right then and there.
Right.
You know, when you're dealing with real estate contracts, there's timelines, there's deadlines you got to meet. Sometimes you got to stop what you're doing and handle that, even if you have time blocked out to do something else. So it can be a challenge to juggle all those things. And then with me owning the real estate brokerage and the investment company, I'm still juggling a bunch of things at one time. I'm a habitual multitasker.
So what is working for you right now to find some type of, I don't want to use the word balance, but what is helping you manage the two things the most right now? Is it a tool? Is it a hire?
Well, the good thing with the brokerage is I have two partners with the brokerage, so it's not all me with the brokerage. It's all me with the investment company. So having the two partners in the brokerage definitely helps. To where we can each take a third of the duties and responsibilities rather than one person to have to do it all.
Yeah, and how are those? How's that working with managing the duties, right? Because I know a lot of us have been a part of partnerships and also had maybe some higher up employees that stood side by side with us, but that doesn't always work also, right?
No, it
so
doesn't.
Managing the managers can also be a challenge. So have you had that challenge?
Thus far, no. The three of us that own the company together, we've all three known each other for a long time, and we all meshed well already, which is why we decided to go into business together. And we all have differing but complementary personalities. So, you know, I'm more analytical than the other two are. One of them's like more kind of social, outgoing. The other one's really good with like accounting and bookkeeping, which I hate dealing with. You know, so we all have our strengths, and the three of us together are able to combine our strengths.
Yeah. I think that's perfect. So far as managing that sales team, who's responsible for that? Day-to-day operations.
Me, basically. I'm operations. One of them is more in charge of recruiting and retention. The other one's more in charge of the finances and the monies.
Gotcha. So in operations right now, what does your gap look like, right? So versus current state versus future state, from where your company is right now versus where you're trying to take it. What does that gap look like, and how can we help you close it?
Well, there's a big gap.
Yeah, describe it for us.
Basically, what I'm working on now is very slowly but surely working on putting people in place to pull myself out of both businesses. Eventually, that's the goal. You know, when you first get into business and you're self-employed, you're not really a business owner. You own a job. You know, and you don't really own a business until that business runs without you.
Right.
And that's where I'm trying to go. Is to the point where the business can continue running with or without me. If I want to take off for a month, I can do that, and it keeps going.
Yeah. What's your challenge, you think, with that so far? Which hurdle are you trying to overcome to get it fully automated?
It's just finding those people, getting the right people in place, getting those standard operating procedures down to be able to scale and grow. Just basically getting all of the material and people in place to make that happen. And it's just a long, slow process to do that.
Yeah, I agree. So at break, if anybody has cracked the code on finding top level employees that show up on time, that don't complain, that can follow directions, that you don't have to babysit, please let everybody know.
Right.
If you crack that code, because what you describing, I know I'm going through the same thing. I think other people in the room are going through
Especially
the same
right now in
thing.
the current state of affairs.
Yeah.
It seems like everybody's really struggling to find good help in every industry.
So has any platform been consistent with working with you with hires, whether it's been Indeed, LinkedIn, Nola.com? Have you seen a consistent channel where labor has been helpful?
Not really, no.
Yeah, okay.
They've
I
all
was
been
looking for a
inconsistent.
cheat sheet. You don't have it either, okay? All right. Yeah, same here. So I think we talked a little bit earlier about Upwork. So that's what I use as far as virtual assistants or just remote employees, period, because everybody on Upwork is not just overseas, right? They have
Yeah.
some remote people that are domestic and even in Louisiana, Florida, or whatnot. So if you already don't have that, in your gumbo pot, you can add Upwork. And I think LinkedIn, man, just searching that job title that you're looking for and just headhunt, because they call us. So somebody's using those headhunters, so that might be helpful also.
And the good thing about Upwork, like you were saying earlier, is you can use Upwork and look at those reviews and responses from people that have used them, where like if you go on Indeed or something like that, yeah, you're going to get a bunch of resumes and applications, but you don't get to get reviews from other people that have actually used them.
Right. Yeah, I agree. So what do you think is one of the biggest misunderstandings that people have when they say that the brokers have an advantage? If you're a broker investor, you have an advantage because you get first dibs on the deal. So what do you say to that?
Well, a couple of the advantages you have of being licensed is that obviously you can list your own properties.
That's one,
so you don't have to refer things out. If you have a deal that you can't make the numbers work and that person really wants to sell, then you can convert it over to a listing rather than having to refer it out to somebody. You can list your own flips, your own spec builds, all that. You get access to the MLS, so you don't have to rely on somebody else for that, for comps and things like that. So there's a lot of perks to it, but there's some cons as well, I guess. You're
Tell me about that.
You definitely, if there's ever a situation where there could potentially be a legal situation, you're definitely going to be held to a higher standard because you have a license. If you have to go in front of a judge, they're going to look at you and say, you should know better.
Yeah.
But if you do things the right way and you follow the rules, you shouldn't have any problems.
So true or false for the brokers that feel like I can just hire an assistant to be that front person, or I can just hire a person that's not licensed? Does that still get them out of the hot water if it comes down to legal situation, in your opinion?
I would say it all falls back on you because you have the license. If they work for you, you're still responsible for them.
Right.
Just like as a broker, I'm still responsible for all the agents at the brokerage. If, actually I ran into a good buddy of mine who's another broker in the city, and he's like, how's the brokerage going? And we're like, we're good, we're growing. We're up to about 20 agents now. And the first thing he said, he goes, you been sued yet? I said, not yet. He goes, you will. It's coming.
Right.
Sooner or later it'll happen.
Yeah. Well, I think you'll be one of the most prepared people for it.
I think so.
Just knowing your personality, so you probably represent yourself in court. Yeah.
I don't know if I'll take it that far.
So moving forward, talking about the investment company now. So that's the brokerage that is growing 20 agents, which is phenomenal. Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
So the investment side, tell us a little bit more about those mistakes, because I can only imagine on the brokerage side. But as an investor, what mistakes stick out the most to you on the buy and sell and even the own and rental property?
Well, like I was saying earlier, that just having that shiny object syndrome that can be detrimental, and I think that a lot of us entrepreneurs are guilty of that and fall victim to that because we're always looking for the new and better way to do things, or the way to stay ahead of the curve, especially when it comes to marketing. Once any marketing channel gets saturated, it becomes less and less effective.
Right.
So you're always looking for the next thing, or sometimes you revert back to an old thing.
Yeah.
And that's actually a little secret I started doing, is everybody's been doing cold calling. I went back to doing a bunch of direct mail, and it's working.
Yeah.
Because there's not as many people doing direct mail.
Yeah.
The only difference is direct mail gets expensive.
Yeah. I agree. So we had a small conversation earlier about tracking and analytics, right? So how is that important in your business when we talked about Hootsuite and making sure that whoever's in that position is held accountable? Um, Metrics and measurements and staying on top of your staff, how does that give you an advantage, you think, in your business?
It's definitely important to have a set of key KPIs that you track,
Correct.
monitor, measure those things, do split testing on your marketing,
Yep.
and it's going to help you be more effective and more efficient, and also save you some money along the way if you keep track of those things.
Yeah. How has that experience with tracking those KPIs kind of revealed some vanity in your business that you thought was good but wasn't?
Oh yeah, you could be key performance indicator.
You want to define that?
Go for it.
Okay. So key performance indicators. I mean, the most in its most simple way are the basic measurements in your business that you need to keep an eye on, right? So in the book Good to Great, they talk about the one metric that matters. So for example, if it is direct mail, so you may be tracking your response rate for each mail piece. So if you want to do a split test would be 3 different mail pieces. Maybe one is a yellow paper, one is a pink paper, and one is a white paper. You want to send them all out with the same message. You want to see which one has the highest response rate. So that would be a key performance indicator.
Yeah, I think you were telling me you did that recently when I saw you.
Yeah, I did post that, right. So getting ready for...
What was the color that was working again?
Clear. So that in a nutshell, that's key performance indicator. So you want to follow one metric. You want to start off with that, keeping it simple. And what you're saying, I think, is valuable because you said it for your brokerage and you said it for your investment business. Don't do too many things at one time. And I know for sure I've been a victim of it just last month, which is why I'm split testing now because we got to pull out of the text messaging because of the new regulations, right?
Yeah.
So to answer your question, key performance indicators are the measurements in your business that if you track them and get an understanding of how much of X do I need to do in order to get to Y, once you lock in that number, that puts you in position to scale up.
Right.
Good answer?
Yeah, it could be the number of leads you need to get an appointment, the number of appointments you need to get a deal, and so on and so forth.
Right. And when you talk about scaling up, I think those KPIs are going to be the legs to that baby, to scaling up.
Yeah, it's going to tell you what you need to focus on.
Correct. Right. So leads generated, that could be one. Response rate, that could be one. You had a cold caller, so how many calls does this person need to make in order to get, if it's your brokerage, how many leads, how many listings?
One viable lead, how many calls to a viable lead,
Correct.
And then, or how many leads does he have to make contact with, he or she make contact with to actually get an appointment?
Yeah, I agree. And they are beneficial in marketing, but also for the contractors that's in the room, in any other industry, I think they are effective in operations, period. So as far as contractors, time could be a KPI. As far as lenders, I'm not sure what measurements other than leads or I'm not sure interest rates, but whatever is important to your business, you can track it. And once you lock in on that number from the data over time, and you have an understanding of what it is, now it's time to double down and put the pedal to the metal. So great question, and I'm glad you brought that up because I want everybody in the room to scale up. We want this to be a market to where it's not just a bunch of one-off investors. The more deals everybody does, the better the market is, and the better the market is
Absolutely.
for us.
Yep.
Absolutely. So last question, we talked about gaps, right? So as far as your brokerage, are you recruiting more agents right now, or is 20 your number, or is 2,000?
We actually aren't even really doing a marketing push right now.
Okay.
The agents we've brought on recently have just kind of come to us.
Good.
For one reason or another. But next year we're going to be doing a big recruiting push.
Okay.
We're working on some kind of back end things that we need to get organized before we go on a big marketing recruiting push.
Perfect. So somebody in this room can help you connect with some recruits, some potential agents, or agents that's not happy with the brokerage that they're here right now. What about on the investment side? What's current state versus future state, and how can we help you close that gap?
you can help me find deals.
All right. So that is one thing. So what else? Money. Is money important right now?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think we could always use funding. All of us
Okay.
can use more funding at any time. So that's could definitely be a help. And then if anybody, like you gave me Upwork as a good source to get
Yep.
good VAs. If anybody else has recommendations where to find good VAs,
Yeah.
or if anybody's got a VA that needs some extra work that they know does a good job.
Yeah. Another thing too, with as far as Upwork, and we're wrapping up. They have brokerages on Upwork. So not only can you hire a one-off person, you can hire a firm, because that's how I got started. And that firm is responsible for doing all of that onboarding and training. And that way, if you're unhappy with one of those virtual assistants, you can just let them know. And
Yeah,
they'll just
swap
phase
them
them
out.
out and swap them out.
Yeah, that's the thing
also.
about going with some of the companies. They do have some larger companies out there that are VA companies. They're typically going to pay more per hour for those, but those VAs are well trained usually, and they're managed.
Yeah.
So it takes some of that off of you. You don't have to do as much training and coaching with them or management of them because somebody's doing that for you,
I
which
agree.
is why you pay extra for them.
I agree. So we're scaling up. Just to recap, those KPIs are important. We're scaling up, not chasing the shiny ball. Make sure you're focusing on one
Yep.
thing.
The SOPs.
Those SOPs, standard operating procedures, what SOPs stand for. So I think we could take those three nuggets and apply that today and try to help our businesses scale up, right?
I agree.
So last question. So what would the Braden at Commander's Palace tell the Braden here in
I should have got into real estate way sooner.
Yeah. That's it?
I don't know. That's a tough question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's good enough. I mean, put the trees down and pick the contracts up.
Yeah, don't. I mean, if you've got an interest in doing it, just do it. I mean,
Yeah.
sooner or later you got to just jump in. You know, real estate's one of those businesses where you really got to kind of start doing it to really learn it.
Mm-hmm.
You can only learn so much from the books and the videos and podcast or what have you, but you're really not going to learn it and grasp it until you really start doing it.
And what was it that got you past that? Because you spent a lot of time analyzing, second guessing. So what was it? A what or who that got you past it?
Honestly, I would say I could attribute that to my wife.
Okay.
Just having a rock solid partner at
Yeah.
home
Mm-hmm.
gave me the confidence to push forward.
Gotcha. Well, I think that's a good stopping point right there. Thank you again, Braden. All right, Braden Smith,
Thank you.
everybody.